Hey, Casey, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi. We're both fairly healthy. And we're back this week with some more Bible studying, and boy, do we have a great story to tell you guys today.
Yes, we do.
We do. All right, so should I start with the summary?
Of course. We always start with your summary. Your summary is the highlight.
Best. It is the best and most accurate summary.
The highlight of the show.
So we start off with the Israelites being enslaved by the Phillies. And then this bitch named Manoah, she's visited by Jesus, and Jesus tells her that she's going to birth a judge.
Manoah is a guy.
Oh, yeah. Manoah's the guy, and we don't care about the wife's name. And then the wife talks to the hubby, Manoah, and the hubby calls BS on it, so Jesus has to come back and talk some man shit to him. And apparently Samson, this is Samson's mom, by the way, in case you didn't know. We're talking about Samson today. Samson's mom has to adhere to a strict dietary requirement in order to carry Samson. Figure that out. And then the angel, or aka Jesus, refused to eat this goat they were gonna cook, and instead was like, hey, sacrifice this shit. And then he evaporated with the smoke up into heaven. The real magical shit going on today. So Jesus ends up ascending into heaven. There's absolutely nothing about his childhood, which is kind of funny considering Jesus has started all this shit. And we don't know anything about Jesus' childhood either. Let's see. When he's older, he lusts after this Philistine woman. And the problem is that her daddy's dick isn't sliced, and that is, I don't know why he's concerned about her daddy's dick. Maybe it's just part of the deal. He's got to suck the daddy dick. I don't know. So then Sammy, he gets the women, but then his family bitches about him not fucking his own kin for some reason. I don't know about that. And I think that really pisses him off because, you know, his family's bitching. So he goes out and he kills a lion by tearing it in twain. That's not a GE word. And then after a little while, he goes back and he eats some honey out of the lion's carcass. So just imagine him rooting around in the intestines for that shit. By the way, lions, they don't eat fucking honey. And then Sammy gives a riddle to Tammy, his wife. Gives a riddle to to her family as like a wedding gift or something. And then Tammy sobbed and cried bitch tears for the riddle's answer. Sammy was pissed about Tammy giving the answer to her family, so he goes and kills 30 fillies and then gives the clothes to him, which if you can't imagine, it's like, all right, I'm gonna go get you your clothes, and then it goes and it kills like all of your neighbors, and then robs them of their clothes and gives them to you, and you're just like horrified. Anyways, Sammy calls Tammy a heifer.
Where the fuck did you get the name Tammy?
I don't know. I wrote down Tammy. Tammy then fucks Todd in order to get back at Sammy.
Who the fuck is Todd? Okay.
And then when at the wheat harvest, apparently Sammy comes back to find Tammy fucking Todd, and so Sammy, Tammy's dad actually says, "Hey, take my other daughter," as if, you know, property, of course. Sammy gets pissed again because he doesn't want any, you know, seconds. And Sammy gets, for some reason, a bunch of foxes together and lights them on fire in the wheat field. And I don't know why he's got to go fucking serial killer with it, but okay. The Phillies get pissed and burn the fuck out of Tammy and her dad because obviously they're the ones to blame for all this shit. And then, of course, Sammy gets mad and he kills a bunch of Philistines. And then he lives in a cave, and then apparently 3,000 of these fillies come to find him, and for one reason or another, Sammy gets a horse's ass jawbone thing and kills a bunch of these fucks. And then one day he goes to get a whore from a village, and they try to surround him and take him out. But you see, he still has his big dick strength and he just rips up the gate and takes it with him up the mountain. And he's like, fuck you guys, I'll take your goddamn shit. But then he gets an eye for Delilah. Delilah fucks him over 3 times, and for some fucking reason, I don't know, he must be thinking with his dick, because he ends up telling her how to defeat him, and then that's when he loses his eyes and he's fucked. He gets skull fucked by the Philistines, and that's how it ends. The end.
Oof, that was bad.
I don't know. I think I got most of it right.
No, totally did not get any of it right. What the fuck is a horse's ass jawbone?
I don't know. I mean, it's the Bible. Nobody knows what it's talking about.
No, that's not what it says, though. So bad.
What's up, heathens?
How y'all doing?
So we're going over the Bible today, and we got a lot of shit to cover. Obviously, Samson's a very intimate story, and it's got a lot of moving parts to it. So we'll just go on ahead and get to all the killing right now. Remember, this is what God wants. Fucking mass murder.
Yeah. So Samson is a judge. We're back in Judges. I know last week we kind of parted a little bit to go over Ruth, but we are back in Judges for chapters 13 through 16 today, and it is the entire story of Samson. So the Israelites obviously do evil in the eyes of the Lord, right? So he delivers them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. Again, another 40 years of kind of slavery, kind of just being treated like shit, right? Not free and happy, whatever.
What the Israelites know best.
Yeah.
Misery.
Yeah. So there's a guy in Zorah named Manoah, right? And he is from the clan of the Danites. So these are Dan.
Wait a second.
The tribe of Dan.
I figured the tribe of Dan would be really laid back. You're telling me this this fucking alcoholic is gonna start killing a bunch of fucks?
What? Who's an alcoholic?
The Danites. They just sit back on the couch and drink beer all day?
No, you made that up. You made that up.
What?
So Manoah has a wife. She is sterile and remains childless. I almost said childish. Childless. So the angel of the Lord appears to her and says, "You are sterile and childless. Thanks for reminding me."
All right, so to interrupt since we...
Can I finish the sentence?
Oh, sorry.
But you are going to conceive and have a son. Okay?
Okay, so sorry. As Christians teach in these Judges passages, like what they did with Gideon and now with Samson, this angel of the Lord that presents himself to announce the judge or whatnot is Jesus himself. To Christians. I'm not saying that this is what Jews thought, obviously, but this would be actual post hoc like reasoning for it. So when we're talking about this angel coming up here, I want you to keep in mind that this is supposed to be Jesus. And there's a lot of parallels that you'll see.
Okay. Well, I mean, we already kind of said one. A woman who is childless, which is also sterile, which we don't know that Mary was. That's not part of her story, but she was childless and virgin. And God says, "You're going to conceive and have a son." So
yeah, which
it's kind of a proto-Mary story.
Well, right. And if you remember in, I believe it's Matthew, she's actually surprised when told, which is one of the ways that we know that it was edited, because she was surprised even though she was betrothed to be married. And so like she was like, "Well, how am I going to get pregnant?" And it's like, "Well, you fuck your husband. I mean, do you not know how the birds and bees work?"
That story might not have been invented yet. Anyway, so the angel of the Lord tells her, "Now see to it that you drink no wine or other fermented drink, and that you do not eat anything unclean, because you will conceive and give birth to a son. No razor may be used on his head, because the boy is to be a Nazirite, set apart to God from birth, and he will begin the deliverance of Israel from the hands of the Philistines." So God is sending her a son to deliver the Israelites. So there's a Jesus parallel there too.
Right.
Yeah. So the woman went to her husband and told him, a man of God came to me. She didn't know it was the angel of the Lord. She just said it was a man of God. A man of God came to me. He looked like an angel, very awesome. I didn't ask him where he came from, and he didn't tell me his name. But he said to me, you will conceive and give birth to a son. Now then, drink no wine or other fermented drink, and do not eat anything unclean, because the boy will be a Nazarite, of God from birth until the day of his death.
What they do here, though, to equate this Jesus or this angel or whatnot, man of God, is that since God himself can't physically appear here on earth, any earthly representation of him is Jesus, because Jesus is the human version of God. Like, he's the bridge. He's the bridge between man and God.
But supposedly God appeared earlier in the Old Testament.
Well, right. Yeah, true. He did. And so, but it's now with these judges that this angel of God appears.
Yeah.
But in Christians post hoc assert that this is actually the Messiah or the Jesus character.
Well, it's also really important to note that after the books of Moses, there are no more direct connections with.
No.
Yeah, the Israelite people have no more direct connection with God.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's all done through this angel of the Lord.
Yeah.
That's a connection to God.
And judges, people who God talks to, he brings them. He doesn't necessarily talk to them. Anyway. Then Manoah prayed to the Lord, O Lord, I beg you, let the man of God you sent to us come again to teach us how to bring up the boy who is to be born. God heard Manoah, and the angel of God came again to the woman while she was out in the field, but her husband Manoah was not with her. The woman hurried to tell her husband, he's here, the man who appeared to me the other day. Manoah got up and followed his wife. When he came to the man, he said, are you the one who talked to my wife? I am, he said. So Manoah asked him, when your words are fulfilled, what is to be the rule for the boy's life and work? The angel of the Lord answered, your wife must do all that I have told her. She must not eat anything that comes from the grapevine, nor drink any wine or other fermented drink, nor eat anything unclean. She must do everything I have commanded to her. So I don't feel like he answered the question here, because he wanted to know what is to be the rule for the boy's life and work, and he's like, oh, this bitch can't drink wine while she's pregnant. so which I mean is kind of a good rule, right? Don't drink while you're pregnant.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, this is kind of like one of those redirects, like, I don't want to tell you that. I mean, that would be giving too much away, wouldn't it? Just tell that bitch not to drink wine.
So Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, we would like you to stay until we prepare a young goat for you. So they wanted him to stay for dinner. Again, at this point, they don't know he's an angel. They just think he's a man of God, like maybe a prophet of kind of some sort. Mm-hmm. So the angel of the Lord replied, even though you detain me, I will not eat any of your food. But if you prepare a burnt offering, offer it to the Lord. Then Manoah inquired of the angel of the Lord, what is your name so that we may honor you when your word comes true?
And he said, Jesus, bitches, and he evaporated into the ether.
No. Oh. He replied, why do you ask my name? It is beyond understanding. Then Manoah took a young goat together with the grain offering and sacrificed it on a rock to the Lord. And the Lord did an amazing thing while Manoah and his wife watched. As the flame blazed up from the altar toward heaven, the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame. Seeing this, Manoah and his wife fell with their faces to the ground. When the angel of the Lord did not show himself again to Manoah and his wife, Manoah realized that it was the angel of the Lord.
So what actually happened, guys, is he whipped out his dick and he did the helicopter thing and he helicoptered up to heaven.
That's probably not what happened.
And he was shouting, helicopter, helicopter, helicopter.
I feel like that's probably not what happened.
I don't know. He did an amazing thing. I mean, come on, that would be amazing.
He ascended in a blaze of fire.
Yeah, I mean, a helicopter. Blaze of fire, helicopter. I mean, he was probably just farting.
Anyway, we are doomed to die, he said to his wife. We have seen God. But his wife answered, if the Lord had meant to kill us, he would not have accepted the burnt offering and grain offering from our hands, nor shown us all these things, or now told us this.
And the way that they actually spin this is like, you know, in the whole context of, well, why does God do this to me, or why does God do these bad things to me, or allow these bad things to me? And they spin it as like, well, no, God, he doesn't want to do these bad things to you. And so it's not God that's doing it, because if God wanted to do it, he would definitely fuck you up. And so it plays off of the whole, you're responsible for your sin, and your sin causes all the hardships in your life, is how they kind of spin that.
Yeah. So the book kind of pauses here, and we'll see this. They kind of time jump a whole bunch in this story. So the woman gave birth to a boy and named him Samson. He grew, and the Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir him while he was in Mahanadan, between Zorah and Eshtaol.
That means he started masturbating at a young age.
So that's all that's said about Samson's childhood. There's nothing else about that at all.
Well, and I mean, this is what you'd expect out of a classic hero. Classic heroes typically do not have anything about their childhoods, because it's a miraculous, like, birth or conception or something like that, and then you time jump into what they actually do. So, I mean, this is classic, like, hero storytelling.
So we time jump to Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman who does not have a name in this story.
Hey,
Definitely not Tammy.
Look, Tammy seemed like a trailer park kind of name, because we've used it before in the trailer park. So,
yeah. Okay.
I mean...
When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now go get her for me as my wife. It's kind of fucking demanding, right?
Fucking say please, why don't you? Damn.
So his father and mother replied, isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among all of our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife?
No, Mom, I don't want to fuck my cousin.
I don't even understand why it matters. Like, it's not like they're selling their daughter to a man who's uncircumcised. Circumcision has nothing to do with her. Like, I guess the sperm that seeded her egg came from an uncircumcised dick, and that is a problem?
I guess so. But, I mean, this just sounds like it could be easily mixed up for a conversation happening in, like, Mississippi or Alabama. It's like, you can't find no one from your own kin to fuck, Junior? I don't want to fuck sister, okay, pal?
So Samson said to his father in response to that whole, can't you fuck your cousin? Get her for me. She's the right one for me. His parents did not know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines, for at that time they were ruling over Israel. Okay, so apparently God told Samson this is the woman for him, supposedly, but they don't have any of that in the story. So Samson went down to Timnah together with his father and mother. As they approached the vineyards of Timnah, suddenly a young lion came roaring toward him. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him in a power, so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. Why would you tear a goat apart?
Why is that the thing you compare it to?
I don't know.
I'm kind of curious. Like, as we all do when we tear a goat's limb from limb, he did it to a fucking lion. You understand me?
But he told neither his father nor his mother what he had done.
Why not? Like,
I don't know. I feel like he'd have maybe blood on him somewhere.
Yeah, like, where'd you get all that blood from? Oh, I just ripped a lion in half, guys.
So then he went down and talked with the woman that he liked, and he liked her. So sometime later, we don't know, he went back to marry her. When that happened, he turned aside, I guess looked off the side of the road, and saw the lion's carcass laying there, the one he'd fucking ripped up. And in it was a swarm of bees and some honey, which he scooped out with his hands and ate as he went along.
I mean, I don't know how long of a time frame that it's been, but it makes it Like, since there's no time, it makes it seem like, oh, yesterday he ripped this lion apart, and now there's bees nesting inside of its lower intestine.
Well, it wouldn't have been the next day. I mean, obviously they had to negotiate the woman being sold to him, right, as his bride, and then, plan the wedding and invite people and shit like that. So it might not have been a long time. Obviously, it was long enough to where it was not so long that the lion would have been dragged off or the carcass would have been gone, but long enough to where bees would have made a hive, I guess, or a nesting area in there to make honey.
I don't know why bees would nest inside the carcass of a lion, though.
I don't know either. Anyway, so he eats it as he's going along, and when he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it. But he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. Like, why would you eat something from a rotting fucking carcass?
I don't know. But, I mean, can you just imagine, hey, guys, you want some of this honey? It totally came from normal places. Found it on this tree that doesn't exist on the side of the road out there.
So, after that, his father went down to see the woman. And Samson made a feast there, as was customary for the bridegrooms. When he appeared, he was given 30 companions. "Let me tell you a riddle," Samson said to them. "If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes." "Tell us your riddle," they said. "Let's hear it." He replied, "Out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet." Okay?
Ooh, that sounds like semen.
For 3 days they could not give the answer. On the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, "Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to rob us?" So, like, they threatened to kill the wife and her family if she didn't get the riddle answer out of them.
Right.
So Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, "You hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer." Samson said, "I haven't even explained it to my father or mother, so why should I explain it to you?" She cried for the whole 7 days of the feast. So on the 7th day, he finally told her because she continued to press him, and she in turn explained the riddle to her people.
I mean, after 7 days, like, I don't know. Don't you just feel like you should just hold fast to, like, your position? And you've already endured 7 days. It's like, this bitch got to shut up sometime.
Well, yeah, but I also think it's strange because they can't even, like, follow a 7-day, like, number path here, because the whole feast is 7 days.
Right.
Right? For 3 days, they couldn't answer, and on the 4th day, they asked, which only leaves 3 days left of the 7-day feast. But apparently she cried for the whole 7 days, and she didn't start crying until the 4th day, but cried for 7 days of a 7-day feast starting on the 4th day.
They're not exactly great at math in this book, like, at all. I mean, we read numbers.
So before sunset on the 7th day, the men of the town said to Samson, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" The riddle, out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? Okay.
Oh, okay, I get it.
It was the lion and the honey. Samson said to them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle."
Ooh, like, is he accusing them of fucking her? Like, maybe I'm just thinking of a wrong cloud. I'm sorry.
You were probably thinking of the wrong cloud. Here's the thing. The 30 companions he was given are her family. Like, they're men from her family. Mm-hmm. And friends. I guess they're friends of his, whatever. So, but he's pissed because he knows that she told them. All right, so he's furious. So the Spirit of the Lord came upon him in power, He went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of their belongings, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with anger, he went up to his father's house. So he left. He left where the Philistines are. And he left his wife there. So Samson's wife was given to the friend who had attended him at his wedding.
That's Todd.
They didn't name him.
Well, I know, but I mean, I gave him a name.
Okay.
Todd is a fine name for a Danian. Or, well, I guess they're
Danite.
not Danite. I guess they're not technically Danites.
No, they're Philistines.
Yeah.
Okay. So Samson's wife was given to another man. So later on, at the time of the wheat harvest, we don't know how much time has passed, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. He said, "I'm going to my wife's room."
You think he tore that goat in half?
I don't know. Maybe he tore it in half. Maybe he was going to tear it in half to impress her and then fuck her. I'm not really sure. But her father would not let him go in.
Well, because she was fucking Todd.
So the dad said, I was so sure you thoroughly hated her that I gave her to your friend. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead.
He's like, she's untapped, bro. I mean, come on. It is prime. I know. I looked myself.
Well, and I think it's funny that he's just trying to sell Samson another daughter, even after he went down to the fucking village and killed 30 people. Like, that just seems to, like, I wouldn't want that kind of guy in my family.
Well, no, but I mean, then again, it's like, oh, you owe us like 30 garments. And he's like, all right, well, I'll just go and kill all your fucking friends.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you're like, oh, well, fuck, you can have any goddamn thing I have, okay?
Here's my other daughter. Isn't she good looking?
Yeah, just get the fuck out of here, okay?
So Samson said to them, "This time I have the right to get even with the Philistines, and I will really harm them." So he went out and caught 300 foxes and tied them tail to tail in pairs. So he had 150 pairs of foxes fucking tied to each other by their tails. But wait, there's more.
Can you imagine like the tediousness of that? It's like, I gotta.
How do you control the rest of the foxes? And like, that's a lot of fucking foxes. Where are you pinning them?
Can you imagine like the foxes are in like their cage or something? And they just look at each other, look at their tails. It's like, what the fuck is going on here?
You are not going to be able to tie foxes' tails together.
Yeah,
that's just not going to be able to happen. So, anyway, he then fastened a torch to every pair of tails, lit the torches, and let the foxes loose in the standing grain of the Philistines. Remember, it's at harvest time, so the grain is like fully grown and dry and ready to be harvested. So he lights all their fucking grain on fire, but it also ends up burning all of the shocks and standing grain with the vineyards and the olive groves. And of course, all the foxes die, right?
Well, yeah, they burn alive because they have fire attached to their combined tails. Yeah. But, I mean, wouldn't it be easier to just, like, wrap a torch around, like, half as many foxes? Like, just do it straight up in the air, wrap the torch around the fox, and have it run out in the field or something?
Or you could just light a fucking torch and throw it in the field. Like, why do you have to fucking kill foxes?
Fucking Molotov, motherfucker. Let's go. Invent this shit. Come on.
So when the Philistines asked who did this, they were told Samson, the Timnite's son-in-law, because his wife was given to his friend. So the Philistines went up and burned her and her father to death. So,
yeah, he took way too much pleasure in that. Like, they got fucking burned.
Their own people came and killed them because Samson, who they didn't really want anything to do with, I mean, other than to sell the other daughter to, right?
Yeah.
And they killed them. So, let's see. Since you've acted like this is Samson. This is Samson talking to the Philistines. Since you've acted like this, I won't stop until I get my revenge on you. He attacked them viciously and slaughtered many of them. Then he went down and stayed in a cave at the rock of Edom. So now we're in a cave.
Yay, more cave dwelling.
Yeah.
You know, Lot fucked his 2 daughters in a cave.
Well, technically the daughters fucked him.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, though.
Yeah. So the Philistines went up and camped in Judah, spreading out near Lehi. The men of Judah asked, "Why have you come to fight us?" And they said, "We have come to take Samson prisoner to do to him as he did to us." Then 3,000 men from Judah went down to the cave in the rock of Edom and said to Samson, "Don't you realize that the Philistines are rulers over us? What have you done to us?" So these are his own people. Mm-hmm. Right? These are Samson's people.
Samson looked at him and was like, "Listen, I will enslave you to those Philistines if you keep them fucking smart-ass mouth up."
So he answered, "I merely did to them what they did to me." They said to him, "We've come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines." Samson said, "Swear to me that you won't kill me yourselves." "Agreed," they answered. "We will only tie you up and hand you over to them. We will not kill you." So they bound him with 2 new ropes and led him from the rock.
Oh my goodness, something is up because Samson is going quietly.
You ready?
Yeah.
As he approached Lehi, the Philistines came toward him shouting. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him again in power. The ropes on his arms became like charred flax, and the bindings dropped from his hands. Finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Look, okay, so this angel, like, can you just imagine he's standing there and he's got his arms behind his back, he's all tied up, and then all of a sudden this heavenly cum just all over him, burns off the ropes, and he's covered in this god cum, and he picks up the jawbones and everything, and he's like, "Let's go, motherfuckers." And they're all like, "Jesus fucking Christ. We are fucked."
So after he killed 1,000 men, he said, "With a donkey's jawbone I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone I have killed 1,000 men." So he's like clever, right?
Oh, he's a poet and didn't even fucking know it.
Yeah. So when he finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone, and the place where this happened was, I guess, named, whatever, Ramath Lehi, which means Jawbone Hill. Yeah. So obviously after killing a whole bunch of people, like, he was thirsty. So because he was very thirsty, he cried out to the Lord, "You have given your servant this great victory. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised?" I still don't get the fascination with the penis.
Yeah, I don't either, but can you just imagine all of them, like, in these super short, like, skirts or whatnot fighting, and it's just, like, uncircumcised cocks just dangling out of it? It's like, oh, God, guys, come on. I didn't want to be captured by you, but fuck, put on actual pants, would you?
Then God opened up the hollow place in Lehi, and water came out of it. When Samson drank, his strength returned and he revived. So the spring was called En-Hakkor, and it is still there in Lehi. And En-Hakkor means caller's spring, because he called the god for water. So Samson led Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. Okay. So one day, we have no idea when this is, Samson went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute. He went to spend the night with her. The people of Gaza were told, "Samson is here," so they surrounded the place and lay in wait for him all night at the city gate. They made no move during the night, saying, "At dawn we'll kill him." But Samson lay there only until the middle of the night. Then he got up and took hold of the doors of the city gate together with the 2 posts and tore them loose, bar and all. He lifted them to his shoulders and carried them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron.
So, in the Bible, generally speaking, the women, prominent women of the Bible, are usually deceptive. And so in the Samson story here, that's painfully obvious because he's got his first wife, Tammy, who ends up fucking Todd and causes all of this drama and shit in the trailer park. And so, I mean, that she's a fucking deceptive bitch. And now you've got Delilah, who's further going to fuck him over, as we'll see. And so this is just more reinforcement about it, and they actually combat the whole him going to see a whore thing pretty novelly, because he talks about like God like giving Samson supernatural strength to like pick up the fucking gate and tote it up the hill. And they paint it as like God's purpose being bigger than his purpose.
Yeah.
Or being bigger than him or whatever. So, I think that it's funny how they can turn that around. Like God's purpose for any one person is bigger than any sin they commit. And I feel like that's kind of dangerous and could lead into the, like the pedophile problem that's in the church right now. It's like, oh, God's purpose for him is much bigger. We don't need to fuck with that. Like, I don't know. I see it as a very easy, like, theological way to protect pedophiles or people that do these horrible crimes while they're in the church.
So again, sometime later, we're going to time jump, right? He fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek whose name was Delilah. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so we may tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver." They actually offered that each one of the rulers there would give her, or elders, I guess, would give her 1,100 shekels of silver, each one. So Delilah knows how Samson feels about her, obviously, and she uses that to her advantage. So Delilah said to Samson, "Tell me the secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued." So he answered her, "If anyone ties me with 7 fresh thongs," not panties.
Oh, man.
Bowstrings, apparently, is what that means.
I was thinking G-strings, but okay.
Bowstrings. So if anyone ties me with 7 fresh thongs that have not been dried, I will become as weak as any other man. So the rulers of the Philistines brought her, she told them, all right? And they brought her 7 fresh thongs that had not been dried, and she tied him with them. With men hidden in the room, she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." But he snapped the thongs easily as a piece of string snaps when it comes so close to a flame. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Samson snapping thongs.
I'm laughing right now because I'm imagining like the conservative version of this story being put into like film, and it's just like, Billy Joe or whatever the fuck, like some kind of redneck is sitting there tied up with actual thongs, and you've got some kind of like porn star that's Delilah, and I don't know, it was it is funnier in my head.
It usually is, right, babe?
Yeah.
It's okay. I laugh at you all the time.
I know.
You're a funny guy. Okay. All right. So the bitch told on him, right? She turned him in.
Well, obviously, just like I said before, women are portrayed as deceptive, horrible people.
Yeah.
This is just a further extension of that.
So she somehow thinks she has the right to be mad at him now. So Delilah said to Samson, "You have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come now, tell me how you can be tied." So Samson said, "If anyone ties me securely with new ropes that have never been used, I'll become as weak as any other man."
Uh-oh.
So Delilah took new ropes and tied him with them. Then, with men hidden in the room, she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." But he snapped the ropes off his arms as if they were threads.
Yeah.
Delilah then said to Samson, "Until now you have been making a fool of me and lying to me. Tell me how you can be tied." He replied, "If you weave the 7 braids of my head into the fabric on the loom and tighten it with the pin, I'll become as weak as any other man." So while he was sleeping, as if he doesn't know that she's gonna, fucking do something crazy because she has each time so far. While he was sleeping, Delilah took the 7 braids of his head, wove them into the fabric, and tightened it with a pin. Again she called to him, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He awoke from sleep and pulled up the pin in the loom with the fabric. So that didn't work either.
Right.
Okay. Then she said to him, "How can you say I love you when you won't confide in me?" why would he confide in her? She's fucking 3 times she's done what he said to weaken him,
right,
to turn him over to the Philistines.
Well, yeah. What's really weird is that in the Bible miniseries on the History Channel, it only it shows like him lusting after her and sleeping with her, and then she's like, where does your power come from? And then he just immediately tells, like, they totally cut out the fact that she asked 3 times, and 3 times she betrays him. And I don't know if he's just thinking with his dickhead or something at that point. Maybe she promised to do anal. I don't know.
Well, and I'm like, okay, he's smart. He's not going to tell the bitch, right?
Yeah.
This is the 3rd time you have made a fool of me and haven't told me the secret of your great strength. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was tired to death. So he told her everything. No razor has ever been used on my head, he said, because I have been a Nazirite, set apart to God since birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me and I would become as weak as any other man. When Delilah saw that he had told her everything, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines, "Come back once more, he has told me everything." So the rulers of the Philistines returned with silver in their hands. Having put him to sleep on her lap, she called a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. So it began to subdue him, and his strength left him. Then she called, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He awoke from his sleep and thought, "I'll go out before and shake myself free." Mm-hmm. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Then the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do whenever you kidnap somebody. You got to gouge out their eyes so they don't see shit.
They bound him with bronze shackles and set him to grinding in the prison. But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to celebrate, saying, "Our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands." When the people saw him, they praised their God, saying, "Our God has delivered our enemy into our hands, the one who laid waste our land and multiplied our slain." When they were in high spirits, they shouted, "Bring out Samson to entertain us." So they called Samson out of the prison, and he performed for them. When they stood him among the pillars, Samson said to the servant who held his hand, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple, that I may lean against them." Now the temple was crowded with men and women. All the rulers of the Philistines were there, and on the roof were about 3,000 men and women watching Samson perform. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, "O sovereign Lord, remember me. O God, please strengthen me just once more, and let me, with one blow, get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Then Samson reached toward the 2 central pillars on which the temple stood. Bracing himself against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other, Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rulers and all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than when he lived. Then his brothers and father's whole family went down to get him. They brought him back and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the tomb of Manoah his father. He led Israel 20 years.
Right. And I don't know if you guys really caught it, but there's a lot of parallels to Jesus right here. Because he's betrayed 3 times. Mm-hmm, yeah. And 3 is a magical number. He's portrayed by somebody close to him. Right. That supposedly loves him.
Well, they never say that she loves him.
Well, no, but I mean, I say
they have a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, he's caught, he's mocked, mm-hmm. he's gonna be put to death or whatnot. And then he sacrifices himself to destroy the building or whatnot.
The enemy. It wasn't about the building, it was about the people.
It was about the enemy, is what I meant. But when Jesus died on the cross, he basically, that was him defeating death or defeating Satan here on earth, is what it was, or what a lot of Christians symbolize it as. So it's really telling to me, like, the course of events in Samson and how that relates to Jesus's, like, passion.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting parallels in this story, for sure.
Yeah. Is that it?
That's all for this week, yes.
All right. Damn.
Damn, Dan.
Damn, Dan. You got a lot of story to tell. Well, is that it for Judges? No, we still have more fucking Judges.
Have more. So next week we'll be doing chapter 17 and 18 of Judges. And that is the story of Micah and the Danites.
Oh, the Danites.
Yes. So we've got all of that, and let's see, what are we going to talk about? Micah makes idols, right? So we know how that works.
Oh, that carving son of a bitch! He's on his porch and he's got nothing else better to do but carve fucking idols.
Yeah, we've got some Levites, we've got spies, we've got forces, like army forces, right? Mm-hmm. The Danites arming for battle, and let's see. They renamed Dan.
Everybody gets renamed in this book.
Yeah.
Does God fuck him too?
Oh my God, hold on. It says, the Danites rebuilt the city and settled there. They named it Dan, after their forefather Dan, who was born to Israel. Oh, the town was renamed Dan. Sorry, the town that was destroyed was renamed Dan.
Oh, okay.
My bad. And then...
And then they just sat back and was like, well, that's just your opinion, bro.
Yeah, and then they set up graven images. Mm. So they continued to use the idols that Micah had made, so in the house of God. So it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, they're going to get fucked up.
Yeah, and then the week after that, we're still in Judges, and we're going to have a civil war with Benjamin.
Oh, damn. Mm-hmm. It's like fucking Captain America Civil War here.
Yeah. And actually, next week and the week following are the last of Judges. Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool. All right. Well, heathens, if you're not part of the Skeptic Mafia, so you can get the pre-show for this podcast, definitely hit that join link right now on the page. It's right next to the subscribe button, and you can get those episodes. You could also become a patron for as little as $1. So you got a couple of venues in which you can become part of the Skeptic Mafia.
Yep.
So I hope that everybody has a lovely day, and I guess I'll be seeing you heathens later.
Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.